RoofCon, this is Matt Grassmeyer coming from the Catalyst booth live. Got a very special guest, John Senac, professional member of the APA. I'm going to let him talk a little bit about the APA. John, thanks for coming. Love to just hear about APA, the mission, why you joined, and kind of some of the things that are going on in APA's world. And I'll just let you take it from there. Again, thanks. John Senac, APA. I'll leave it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, man. So I really had no clue what the APA was until I was scrolling through a conference and got stopped by one of the APA members and pulled into the booth and learned about what it was, what its cause was, and I knew right away it was a cause I could get behind. At the time, I was solely just a contractor and saw value as a contractor being a professional member for that cause because of what the APA does. Since then, I've really grown into other avenues of the roofing industry and continue to see the value of that. But as a professional member, for what you get, what it's going to as a professional member, there's just no better value for your money. The APA is a watchdog unit that's out there looking out for the policy holder. And I will say that again, they're looking out for the policy holder. Out of every insurance carrier out there, they all have an SIU unit for their own in-house team to protect the carrier. I mean, these multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar insurance carriers have SIU units to look out for their own interests, strictly their own interests. The APA is the first and only watchdog organization that has an SIU unit that's designed to watch out for policy. Since their existence, they've reopened nearly 150,000 claims going back at the policy, the carrier, on behalf of the policyholder to make, not just make amends, but to stop it from happening again. Their mission is not a mission of just solving the problem from the standpoint of restitution. It's preventing it from happening another time. It's actually going after criminal acts. It's actually providing fines, arrests, prosecutions towards these, I see back in the title, towards these carriers and the adjusters and the engineers and anybody that's involved in that fraudulent act or can be connected to that fraudulent act that is turned into a fraud, direct fraudulent claim. They're actually going after those individuals because it's the only way it's going to stop. Do you think that any carrier out there is really going to bat an eye if they got to settle a $500,000 lawsuit or if they have to settle a $1 million lawsuit? No. But when you go and affect the actual people that their hands were in the decision process, for those individuals who sat there and said, all right, I'm going to write this report this way in favor of the carrier, or I'm going to make this decision in favor of the carrier, there's no one penalizing and punishing that individual. And frankly, the carriers don't have a great amount of care for shelling out that $500,000, $1 million settlement, because they'll just settle them all day long, move on, put them in their back pocket, and never think anything about it. Meanwhile, they're still lobbying for other laws and things in their favor, state to state, county to county, city to city. And the APA is the only organization that actually goes back with their SIU unit and targets the adjusters, the outside adjusters, the engineers, and everybody who is involved in that wrong decision, the wrongdoing that harmed the policyholder. So let's stop that. Let's get that person out of the picture at this point. That's what their ultimate goal is if we keep removing one person from the equation, eventually the message comes across that we mean business. So I know that what I do as a professional member, both in just contributions and financial contributions, donations, paying for my professional membership, that it's all going to a good cause. And if my professional membership fee helps generate one person's problem being solved, another lying carrier, an adjuster, an engineer who has done wrong in that situation, being fined, being penalized, being arrested, being charged with some sort of criminal charges, then I feel like I've really contributed to a good cause. Now, outside of that, what happens behind the scenes is more than we can really realize, because there's always bills, laws, legislations trying to be passed that are more in favor of the actual carriers and not the policyholders. And the APA has members, the APA, it's not members, I'm a professional member, so I'm using the wrong word here. The APA organization has individuals that will actually go and work with the local attorney generals and work with the states and actually try and bring balance to those equations, which is a near impossible situation because it's one watchdog organization going against all of these large carriers. But they show up. They show up in those decisions. They show up in front of those public events. They show up and meet with the attorney generals and say, no, you can't do this because you are making a decision that's ultimately going to affect the policyholder purely in favor purely in favor of the carrier and not in favor of the policyholder. And the APA's mission is to establish neutrality. If I was to sum it up from what I see from the outside, it's to establish neutrality. But the only way to do that is to go after the people that are actually causing harm. Because again, that $500,000 fine, that $1 billion class action lawsuit is a drop in the bucket for a company that's raking in billions, not selling losses properly, committing fraud, and again, not just fraud from the standpoint of internal fraud, the collective group of other outside people that provide information and provide professional feedback and opinions to the carrier on behalf of the decision for that particular loss are also committing fraud. They're part of it, and they're solving that mission. So, for those of you who don't know what it is, I encourage you to check it out. They release a newsletter. This is important to read every time this newsletter comes out and really understand the key things that they're doing. What are they highlighting? And Doug is the most humble person on the face of the planet. He's very proud of his cause, but he's a humble person. He's truly, his heart is in the right place, coming out here to fight on the policyholders' behalf. And they also have a lot of resources. This is a great one. This is Evaluating Assured's Engineer Report, because as contractors, sometimes we read it, and it's foreign language, and we can get intimidated by that. We may feel a little bit out to lunch reading that. Understanding that is helpful. And the fact that the APA has teams that write these on the policyholder side, so you can better understand how to read this as a contractor, as the person who has to go out and represent the policyholder in that loss and in that claim, is incredibly valuable. This is great. It's at the APA booth. You can stop by. Megan's over there. She can give you plenty of details on everything the APA has to offer, how to get set up and signed up as a professional member. What she can expand way better on what the cause is, but as a contractor, and seeing homeowners affected by this all the time, it's great to know that there's actually a location where a policyholder can go for free, go on the website, fill out the concern, and the APA will evaluate the concern. And if they feel fraud's been committed, there's a watchdog out there for them to go and take on that task, to go and prosecute the people that made the wrong decision and committed fraud and actually harmed the policyholder in that particular situation. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I highly encourage you to take a moment, get on the APA's website, reach out to them, stop by a booth, call them. Everybody who you're going to work with there is incredibly friendly, great to work with, and they really are going to guide you through what their purpose, what their mission is, and what they're doing on behalf of not just the policyholder, but again, the laws, the legislations, everything that's being lobbied out there, and what they go out there and fight for. So if you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about them any chance I get. Again, APA, what booth? Booth 215, American Policyholder Association. I highly encourage you, regardless of what side you're on, I think we're all on the side of the policyholder here. You got to stop by the APA booth, check it out, see what their mission is, understand what it is. Their professional membership is less than $1,000 a year to a good cause. And I think anybody of us who's seeing success in roofing, right, we're all out there working for the policyholder. Take $1,000 and put it out there for the policyholder's behalf. Because again, less than $1,000, you're going for a good cause on behalf of the policyholder and a great organization, the American Policyholder Association. So thank you for the opportunity to sit here and talk about
that. That was well said. No, the APA is doing a lot of good things. And if you've never heard Doug speak, like he actually went through this personal tragedy himself, and just listening to him talk about the struggle he went through, the hoops he had to jump through, even the hoops he jumped through didn't do anything. He had nobody fighting on behalf of his cause besides himself. And like to watch him get emotional and go, I want to fight for everybody else who could ever possibly go through this, because I know the hell that I went through and me and Heather went through. It's just so amazing to watch that, the genuine passion on his face when he talks about it.
Doug's a guy who gave up an incredibly successful career that he had. When this he got rid of his business, his office, incredible financial mind, very successful individual, gave all that up because of what happened to him, and he didn't want to see that happen to other people, and created a cause to prevent that from happening to other people. And there's not a lot of people that would walk away from that kind of success and say, all right, I had to fight for myself, but now I want to go fight for everybody.
Yeah, I think, and Doug, he had the financial means to fight that battle himself, but a lot of people don't.
No, the average individual doesn't have.
He is an absolute bulldog.
Yeah, he is.
He's an absolute bulldog.
But that's the connection for the average individual who may not have the resources to say, I'm going to go out there and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight this legal battle, a roll of the dice. And again, the ultimate result is you may settle, you may get an award,
But that's a drop in the bucket for the carrier who's out there and just drops that change in the bucket.
Yeah, there's no real
So they
consequence.
can turn around, and that exact individual could continue to do that to another policyholder, and that's what the
And they
APA is
do.
trying to stop.
Yes.
Let's get this guy out of the equation, guy or girl, let's be fair, out of the equation and say no more.
That's amazing stuff. Yeah, Doug and APA, they are down in the dirt in the muck fighting on policyholder behalf, and it's just incredible. John, thank you so much for stopping by, giving
Thanks for the
APA
opportunity.
a little bit of shout out.